Hi all, this is Israel Anderson from Ron Paul Flicks and Am I Libertarian? I wanted to speak to the whole ronpaul.com domain name issue. I've left some videos on Am I Libertarian, but I haven't put any up on our YouTube channel or on ronpaulflicks.com, which I will now post this one too. I'm going to pretty much just put this in a nutshell, make this very, very short. Tim Wingate, who owns ronpaul.com, bought the domain at auction when the Campaign for Liberty staffers had let it lapse. Now this is all according to my best information. If I'm wrong on any of these points, feel free to put information in the comment section below. Now people are alleging, the owners of ronpaul.com, Tim Wingate is alleging that Ron Paul has gone to the United Nations in order to get the domain name back from Tim. That is disingenuous at best. What is actually going on is Ron Paul is following the proper protocol that Tim voluntarily agreed to submit to if there were any disputes over the domain name. So when you purchase the domain name, you are effectively signing a contract voluntarily that states that if there is any dispute with this domain that you are now buying, it will be handled through the ICANN resolution process. Now that may be part of a United Nations subcommittee or some ridiculous thing. That's beside the point. To say that Ron Paul has gone to the United Nations to try and resolve this is absolutely disingenuous. It's dishonest. Tim is trying to get people onto his side because they think Tim's trying to get people to believe that Ron Paul is strong-arming this domain away from Tim. Nothing could be further from the truth. Ron Paul is following the proper, correct, previously agreed upon and contracted procedure signed by Tim himself, voluntarily saying that this here, ICANN, their dispute resolution procedure, will be the way it works, and Ron Paul is following that. So Tim, what's your problem? You voluntarily agreed that this is exactly how it would pan out if there was ever a dispute over the domain name, and Ron Paul is following those words that you signed to the letter. There is nothing backhanded going on here at all. There is no strong arming of this domain away from Tim. A dispute has been created with ICANN. It will follow the proper domain name dispute resolution procedures, just as Tim has voluntarily submitted himself to when he purchased the domain name. Any other talk of Ron Paul doing ridiculous things over this domain name is just not true. So I do think it's maybe a little strange that Ron Paul has filed an ICANN dispute in the first place, but we can't fault him. He is following the guidelines that the owner of the domain name has agreed voluntarily to go through. There is no other alternative. Ron Paul can't file suit against the person, particularly as they're a citizen of Australia. They're not here in the US. So Ron Paul is doing the only thing he legally can do, and the previously agreed to method by the domain owner. So what is indeed the problem? There's no problem here except that somebody doesn't like that Ron Paul is following procedure that they have already voluntarily agreed to. Now, I'm not going to get into who should have ronpaul.com or whether it should be paid for or not. But let's just, in terms of the process that Ron Paul has initiated, or Ron Paul's staffers have initiated, whoever it might be, let's clear the air here and be absolutely cognizant of this fact. Ron Paul is following agreed upon, voluntarily agreed upon, previously agreed upon procedures for any dispute over this domain name. So Tim has absolutely no grounds to complain about this. This is what he agreed to when he purchased the domain name, and this is now how it's panning out. It doesn't mean Ron Paul is going to get this domain name. All it means is Ron Paul has filed a dispute with the agreed upon dispute resolution provider here, ICANN, and that's it. And that's the end of this video. So stop defaming Ron Paul. Stop mocking him on your website. Stop trying to get everybody on your side and not telling them the full story about what Ron Paul is actually doing. Simply following the guidelines you have already agreed to. All right? Have a good night. Bye-bye.